All right. Good morning. Welcome everybody to Wednesday Morning Miracles. And first, I just want to say how blessed and how grateful I am for you guys to be joining me on this journey. We've been doing this for the last 7.5 years, and we're studying right now through going through the entire book. And we've been doing this for the past since January 1st, 2024, and we are on chapter 16, section 3. And it has been really quite a journey. I almost feel like I'm just documenting my life through the chapters and the teachings of A Course in Miracles. And it's like, and it's just, I feel really honored to be able to share my life journey through these calls. And it feels really alive. It feels like as things are showing up in my life, there's a safe container for me to process through it, and it's almost like I'm witnessing myself using the teachings and the foundations of A Course in Miracles to really navigate through challenges and exciting times of my life, and getting to share with everybody, once in a while, some really amazing people that have been impacting my life. So there's only been a couple people I have brought onto this call. One was my big brother, Chris DeSanti, who really brought me into A Course in Miracles. And we've had some other really amazing people. But today I'm really excited to bring one of my closest brothers from Peru, whom we bounce ideas constantly back and forth about Eastern philosophy and A Course in Miracles. And it's, we always find this common ground at some point, like, oh yeah, that's what it's really, about. And we learn from each other, and I just wanted to, well, this was kind of an impromptu one. So it's a treat for everybody. Thank you for being here, because he's in the States right now, and we just did a really beautiful cactus ceremony in Florida, and we're getting a chance to spend the week together here in Vegas. And last night we just had this pretty awesome, profound conversation for about like an hour and a half or 2 hours, something like that, just speaking about spirituality, speaking about our own self-awareness. And I was like, it's like 12 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, bro, we should do this call together and share this on the A Course in Miracles call tomorrow morning. And he's like, what time is it? I'm like, 7 a.m. So I love starting my day off in the morning on Wednesdays and Sundays with A Course in Miracles, because it helps me ground throughout the rest of the day. So what it typically looks like on these calls is we're going to go through the section that we are on for the course, and it opens us up to a mindset that really serves this space. Now, the invitation is that when we start to share, that whatever is in your mind space, whether you share or not out loud, is in the soup of what we are creating here today. So a lot of times these calls are, besides the section and the lesson for the day, I don't usually have like a set plan of what we're going to talk about or what's going to happen. It's more like what is wanting to come through right here, right now on this call with the people that have shown up here. So just know that there's no accidents that you're here. And the fact that even your presence is here is already a contribution to this group. And what is this group? This group is really a collective remembering. There will be moments where you'll have aha moments through either the texts or through other people's share, because it's relatable. And we're just going to remember a little bit more as we navigate through the relationships of our life. And yeah. And so we'll also open it up every on these calls with A Year of Miracles by Marianne Williamson, so that she blesses us, her words bless us as we open up this call here today. And I invite you guys to share, knowing that this is, we're creating the safe space that this call is. And from this call, it ripples out into the world. So, yeah. Okay. So let me just open up this book and see where we are. How perfect. So we're talking about spirituality last night, and we'll continue on. And of course, Marian opens us up with spirituality as well. So this is on day 249 of a year of miracles. And it starts with, my spiritual journey is the meaning of my life. Spirituality is an inner fire, the mystical sustenance that feeds my soul. My spiritual journey drives me into myself, to a sacred flame at the center of my being. This journey gives me eyes to see and the inner strength to live the mystery of the real. Walking the roads of the outer journey, outside the blaze of the mystical truth, I am cold and spiritually lifeless. I am less than my potential when I am lost within the illusions of the world. Today I awake to the world beyond the veil and find the meaning of my life at last. May my eyes be open today, that they might penetrate the darkness of a world that has forgotten love. May my ears be open to hear the cries of the heart that goes out from every soul. May I not be tempted by the thinking of the world to forget why I am here. Love it. So my spiritual journey is the meaning of my life. So I will post that in the ACIM WhatsApp group, and also I will post that in our new Instagram page called My Daily Miracles. Okay, so give that a follow if you have not followed that yet. And I want to introduce my brother David, who may or may not be coming on the camera. There he is. So I'm going to spotlight both he and myself. Where is he? Where did he go? Oh, there he is. What's up, bro? So there's so much that we talk about, and I respect the devotion to his practice. And this is really, I feel A Course in Miracles in everything in my life. And I also feel A Course in Miracles when he and I are sharing about the teachings and the foundations of what we cultivate and what we practice. And we understand that it's a practice. So I'm going to open up actually with David, maybe you introduce yourself and what is the teachings that's your background, where do you come from? And then after the introduction, we're going to take a pause, and we're just going to read this section in the course that we're going to read today, and then we'll open up to the rest of this conversation. And then at any point, any of you guys can join in as well on that. So, what's up, brother? From the other room.
From the other room. Yes, thank you. Thank you for opening the opportunity for me to share. Yeah, it was a lovely conversation yesterday. And in general, we have good conversation. So introducing myself, yeah, David, originally from Israel, based in Peru, traveled many years to India, and I think I started my practice, my path with psychedelics like most people. Then many questions came to be, and after going to India the second time to look for some answers, yoga came into my path, and more teachings allowing me to integrate some of experiences from before. And then, because yoga is such a vast, or Indian philosophy is such a vast subject, then trying to really target a specific tradition that, for some reason that I can understand, some of us feel drawn to a certain tradition. After a time, it feels like it makes sense that I'm attracting to this tradition. You don't ask why, so there is no why, only this. And this is a tradition named Advaita Shaivism, or non-dual Shaiva Tantra, originated from medieval India, like over 1,000 years ago, uh, and I'm truly amazed by this philosophy, this tradition that almost got annihilated completely from the earth, and luckily managed to survive the Islamic conquest to India. This tradition helped me understand, really, like answering questions that I didn't even know I had these questions, giving me answer to such profound experiences or facts, that it took me to a journey of finding my teacher, learning the language of Sanskrit for more than 2 years, learning how to read original text from that time in the original language, so I can really experience firsthand the what the teacher says, and not a commentary on or interpretation of. So yeah, I've been teaching it in my community on weekly classes also. Um, and yeah, this is basically it. So
Love it. And you and I talk about last night. We were talking about like the role of student teacher, and what's the purpose of it, and like why do we teach. So today is actually it's perfect because and at any point I would love for you to chime in, but once I read through this section, I want all of us to kind of just ground into the teachings of A Course in Miracles here today, and then let's see how we expand this beautiful conversation into the East and the West and all the languaging. So even as I share here, brother, just even if you want to like take down some notes, I know you sent me some slides, so I'm excited to share the slides as well here. But let me just open it up so that we get this part of our call. We get through this part because this is what we do on every single one of our calls. Just open up with a quick short read from A Course in Miracles. For those of you guys that don't know what A Course in Miracles is, or maybe it's your first time joining, Course in Miracles is a body of text. It was scribed in the late 60s and was published in the early mid 70s. It's a spiritual text. It's a self-practice text. And one thing that I love about the Course, and I'm going to read like what it is too. It says that this course, right? This course is not a course in philosophical speculation, nor is it concerned with precise terminology. It is concerned only with the atonement or the correction of perception. So it's about shifting our perception from fear to love, and that is what the Course says. That is a miracle. A miracle is only a shift in perception. And why do we want shifts in perceptions? It continues by saying, this means the means of atonement is forgiveness. So here we go. We're talking about the practice of forgiveness, and this idea of forgiveness is actually across all major religions. Actually, almost all practices and spiritual practices across the board is forgiveness. The structure of individual consciousness is essentially irrelevant because it is a concept representing the original error or the original sin. To study the error itself does not lead to correction if you are indeed to succeed in overlooking the error. And it is just this process of overlooking at which the Course aims. So all terminologies are potentially controversial. And those who seek controversy will find it, yet those who seek clarification will find it as well. They must, however, be willing to overlook controversy, recognizing that it is a defense against the truth in the form of a delaying maneuver. So it's all about just the delay. Now, this Course says that theological consideration. So this is not about like which philosophy is right, which is not. Okay, so we're not concerned about that. they are controversial since they depend on the belief that and can therefore be accepted or rejected. So, ideas and theology and philosophies can be accepted or rejected. However, a universal theology, the Course says, is impossible, but a universal experience is not only possible but necessary. It is this experience towards which the Course is directed. So the Course is not about teaching you and adding more things to you. The Course is about an experience that you can have when you do certain practices, and maybe David, you can shine on the light about practices as well. It's like it's an experience that we are that the Course is directed. And so here consistency becomes possible because here alone uncertainty ends. And the last part about this is the Course remains within the ego's framework, okay, where it is needed. It is not concerned with what is beyond all the error because it is planned only to set the direction towards it. So the Course is simply a direction towards something. It is not about what the end is and what the destination is, because none of that really is matters. It's really about the direction in which we're going, and knowing that you're going in that direction, whether you're resisting it or not. So love to have you continue this conversation that we had last night about why have practices and why do teachings and stuff like that.
You want to dive right into it now?
I think actually, you know what? I mean, just very briefly, just around why teachings and why do we have practices? What's the point of being devoted to something?
A lot of people, when they begin the spiritual path, and this is also the fact that you call it a spiritual path, a spiritual journey, suggests the idea in every tradition that there is a goal to it, there is a destination. Meaning, when one, which again we will talk about how it happened, like when one's first time open his eyes to the fact that his life or her life not reflecting his true nature, his true essence, I don't follow up from, let's say it's like this, I can do better. The way I live right now is not what I wish for myself. I see that suddenly there is a certain idea that there is a reflection that every time I do something, I get it back. This kind of small things that push you into understanding, okay, I need to control my behavior for one reason or another, that you understand there is a destination. And because for beginners, the idea of a path suggests also that where you are right now is not okay, it's not perfect. And then one begins his path, and many people seek teachers and teachings. And the most common thread among all teaching that I've encountered is the idea is that the way you operate normally is not conscious. For example, people that used to say lies, just lie. People can lie very fast and without even thinking about it. It happened on a subconscious level. It's an instinct. And in order to shift the perception, to change this behavior, another tool needs to come. And this is where practices come. And the main one that I can say it's very common to most of the tradition is, first of all, learning how to relax. Relax the nervous system, not be reactive, not react by an impulse. And this is go back to meditation, to yoga, to plant medicine, to other teachings from other traditions. Learn how to relax. And I feel that relaxation, it's a skill that one can just learn. It's just easy to learn. Like, learn first of all how to breathe, and this kind of very simple practices. We don't even talk about very advanced things. And that for itself can set a course for when you're more relaxed. You can see your reaction in a much clearer light. You can change behaviors as they're happening, even before they're happening. And then you have this image of a master that is so aware and so calm. And in in every situation that life threw at him, because let's face it, life just keep happening and we can't deal with it and it pushes us to certain behaviors. But when you learn to relax, you can hit the balls that life hits you with much more clarity, ease, even enjoying certain moments that can seem to be challenging for other people that see it like, whoa, how you manage to deal with that? You know, a man cut you on the road and you feel so relaxed, not need to change anything, so um, chill about it. That I feel this is why practices are suggested in certain tradition, and this is where teachings come to support students or practitioners. So this is like very short. I feel like it's very beneficial. I feel like awakening, people wait for it to happen, but it's really a skill that one can learn, and it takes practice to cultivate it.
Awesome. Yeah, and we're going to dive into that. I wanted to just share that a little bit because last night we were talking about how we've both, we have our practices that we've been devoted to for a long time. And some of the things that I've shared on this call is like, we go from this learning phase, you learn something and then you teach it because teaching is the way that actually reinforces your learning until you get to a point that you're embodied and you don't even need the teachings anymore. Like, I've become forgiveness, right? Can you walk around, or I've become compassion. And we kind of go through this like full cycle, not to learn anything new, but to remember something that we once know. So we'll go into that about remembering and recognizing as well shortly here. But I'm going to read this section here for us. And as we read this, I'm going to invite everybody to just, in your mind's eye, if you want to close your eyes for a second, just in your mind's eye, picture yourself just like a bag or, I think about like a Santa Claus bag for some reason, but just like wrapping up everything that is in your mind's eye in this moment, like whatever things that you may be thinking about or what you're going to do for the rest of the day. And I'm going to invite you guys to the holy instant of this moment where you can tap into a knowing, okay, an understanding, a listening. So all that you know up to this point, you can just, in your mind's eye, wrap it up in your mind bag and wrap the whole thing up and just put it aside for now so that your mind is just blank and you can receive information not from your own lenses, but from a lens of openness and a lens of spirit. And as we do that, and I'm going to read this section here, and when this section is complete, we will open it up. David and I will we'll continue this conversation that we had from last night. So, okay, let's just take a deep breath in and then just let it all out. And as you open yourself up to connect to a knowing. All right, so this is, and you can open your eyes if you want to, or whatever you want to do. Just know that the words here is not what matters. All right, there's an energetic frequency that will be exchanged for that will be received. All the way from Helen writing the words in here to whoever, and all the hands that have helped make this book happen, and then me reading it and you receiving it. Like, just know that this energy frequency is happening regardless if you're listening to the words or not. Just by being here, your very presence will absorb the teachings. So this is chapter 16. It's called The Forgiveness of Illusions, and section 3 is the reward of teaching. We have already learned that everyone teaches and teaches all the time. You may have taught well, and yet you may not have learned how to accept the comfort of your teaching. If you will consider what you have taught and how alien it is to what you thought you knew, you will be compelled to realize that your teacher came from far beyond your thought system. Therefore, he could easily look upon it fairly and perceive it was untrue. He must have done so from the basis of a very different thought system and one with nothing in common with yours. For certainly, what he has taught and what you have taught through him have nothing in common with what you taught before he came. And when we're talking about he, it's spirit coming, right? And the results have been to bring peace where there was pain, and suffering has disappeared, to be replaced by joy. You may have taught freedom, but you have not learned how to be free. I said earlier, by their fruits ye shall learn them, and they shall know themselves. For it is certain that you judge yourself according to your teaching. The ego's teaching produces immediate results because its decisions are immediately accepted as your voice. And this acceptance means that you are willing to judge yourself accordingly. Cause and effect are very clear in the ego's thought system because all your learning has been directed towards establishing the relationship between them. And would you not have faith in what you have so diligently taught yourself to believe? Yet remember how much care you have exerted in choosing its witness and in avoiding those which spoke for the cause of truth and its effects. Does not the fact that you have not learned what you have taught show you that you do not perceive the sonship as one? And does it not show you how you do not regard yourself as one? For it is impossible to teach successfully wholly without conviction, and it is equally impossible that conviction be outside of you. You can never have taught freedom unless you did believe in it. And it must be that what you taught came from yourself. And this self, the capital self, is clearly, self you clearly do not know and do not recognize it even through its function. Sorry, I was just letting somebody in. What functions must be there? And it is this only you deny that it is done that you could possibly deny its presence. So this is right now talking about you're teaching everything that you believe is true, and what you've been teaching through the ego. So we're going to start to kind of go into that now. This is a course in how to know yourself. You have taught what you are, but you have not let what you are teach you. So this is a really epic line now. The course is making a distinction. Now you have taught what you are, but you have made up what you are, but you have not let what you actually are teach you. You have been very careful to avoid the obvious and not to see the real cause and effect relationship that is perfectly apparent. Yet within you is everything you taught. What can it be? What can it be that has not learned it? It must be part of this that is really outside yourself, not by your own projection, but in truth. And it is this part that you have taken in that is not you. What you accept into your mind does not really change it. Illusions are but beliefs in what is not there. And the seeming conflict between truth and illusion can only be resolved by separating yourself from the illusion and not from truth. Your teaching has already done this. For the Holy Spirit is part of you, created by God. He has left neither God nor his creation. He is both God and you are God and him together. For God's answer to the separation added more to you than you tried to take away. He protected both your creation and you together, keeping one with you and what you would exclude. And they will take the place of what you look in to replace them. They are quite real as part of the self you do not know. They communicate to you through the Holy Spirit, and their power and gratitude to you for their creation they offer gladly to your teaching of yourself, who is their home. You, who are the host to God, are also hosts to them, for nothing real has ever left the mind of its creator, and what is not real was never there. You are not two selves in conflict. So sometimes we feel like we are two, like we have schizophrenia or something, that we have like two selves. You're not two selves in conflict. What is beyond God? If you would hold him, and whom he holds are the universe, all else must be outside where nothing is. You have taught this, and from far off in the universe, yet not beyond yourself, the witness to your teaching have gathered to help you learn. Their gratitude has joined with yours and God's to strengthen your faith in what you taught. For what you taught is true, Alone you stand outside your teaching and apart from it. But with them you must learn that you but taught yourself, and learn from the conviction you share with them. This year, you will begin to learn and make learning commensurate with teaching. You have chosen this by your own willingness to teach. Though you seem to suffer from it, the joy of teaching will yet be yours. For the joy of teaching is in the learner, who offers it to the teacher in gratitude and shares it with him. As you learn, your gratitude of yourself, who teaches what he is, will grow and help you honor him. And you will learn his power and strength and purity, and love him as the Father does. His kingdom has no limits and no ends, and there is nothing in him that is not perfect and eternal. All this is you, and nothing outside of you is you. To your most holy self, all praise is due for what you are and for what he is who created you as you are. Sooner or later, must everyone bridge the gap he imagines exists between his selves. Each one builds this bridge, which carries him across the gap as soon as he's willing to extend some little effort on behalf of bridging it. His little efforts are powerfully supplemented by the strength of heaven and by the united will of all who make heaven what it is, being joined within it. And so the one who will cross over is literally transported there. Your bridge is builded stronger than you think, and your foot is planted firmly on it. Have no fear that the attraction of those who stands on the other side and wait for you will not draw you safely across, for you will come where he would be and where yourself awaits you. So there's nothing outside of you. So like this section and the course sometimes is really dense, right, in what it's saying. But what the course is really saying is the course is reminding us that we are always teaching, number one. So it opened up with that. We are always teaching. Not just like when we're on stage or when Alex is doing a Zoom call, like Alex is teaching. We're not just when you're leading a call, but every moment of our lives, every word, every tone, every action, every reaction from us demonstrates and teaches the world what we believe. So what you believe, you will always teach, and there's no escape from that. And here's the part that really landed for me is that the reward of teaching. So this course is saying the reward of teaching. It says nothing about teaching to give to somebody else, right? The reward of teaching is to bridge the gap. To bridge the gap between your idea of a separated self and your idea of a heaven self. You're teaching someone else, like you're not teaching someone else to like learn from you. It's about strengthening the learning to yourself. So if I teach fear, right? Like if I demonstrate fear, like in any situation, if I react with fear, then like whether it's through judgment or attack or to be defensive or whatever, fear grows stronger in my own mind. So I reinforce the belief that fear is real, that separation is real, that judgment is right, and I judge against that. So what I believe is real, and if I demonstrate or teach through fear, I grow more fear for myself. So if I teach love and through forgiveness, compassion, presence, all of that, then love grows stronger in me. So I reinforce that part. And so what I extend, I receive. What I give away, I keep. This is a big part of the teachings of the course, which is I'm teaching to strengthen my own understanding, my own learning. What I want to learn is what we're really teaching, you know. And just kind of to sum it up before we bring in this conversation with David, is the course just basically says in this section that you are always teaching, and the only choice is that whether you're teaching fear or love, and the reward isn't about what others learn. The reward is that you strengthen one or the other in yourself. So that's the reward of teaching. The reward of teaching is that you're going to strengthen God in yourself when you teach it. You're going to strengthen love in yourself if you demonstrate and teach it. So David and I yesterday were talking about this idea of choice, which we went back and forth for like 45 minutes. Like, is there a choice? Is there free will? And I'll just begin by saying what the Course says about free will and about choice. So remember that we're all here today to to teach, to teach and to be a student at the same time. And maybe if we have some time, I can share what the Course says about student teacher. But the Course says, opening with, this is a course in miracle. It is a required course, right? Only the time you take it is voluntary. So we're not establishing the course. We're not establishing the curriculum. We're not establishing all of that. Free will doesn't mean that you can establish the correct curriculum. Free will doesn't mean that you can decide which direction the world is moving towards. Okay, we are all going down this path. It only means that you can elect what you want to take at any given time. So you can choose that you can happily awaken or you can not happily awaken. Right? So that's really the choice. And so the V posed a really great perspective last night about choice. And so, do you want to open with that, or do you want me to share the slides that you sent me? How do you want to continue this call here
I
today?
think the slides are not as relevant. We can just dive into it, and yeah, created like a great ground for us to talk because this relationship between teacher and student, the even though yeah, the course says, and I have to say, when we start talking about and we start tracing back into the non-dual state, that it's the only thing that exists, words become more of errors to what we try to point at and except of the thing itself. So for all the people that trying to grasp this understand this what is about to be unfolded, the word that I'm gonna use cannot point it. It cannot suggest the thing itself, but just point into direction. So I'll say that because you introduced me to the course and it helped me also, my tradition helped me to see other tradition from a non-dual view. And let's say it like this: the fact that we said non-duality, why we don't say unity? Why is it non-duality? Because it seems like two. It seems like dual. The world seems like it's separate, but it's not separate. And so, opening with that, the relationship between a teacher and a student is so significant, so important, specifically from my tradition, the Indian philosophy, and every tradition that we had on this planet until now. This is how teaching is being preserved from teacher to student. And just show you like a nice, like a small peek into the world of Sanskrit. You know the word guru. The word guru suggests a lot of people know it as a teacher, but what really guru means is heavy. Heavy, but not heavy as a big dude, but heavy as gravity. As when you, and when there is a person that is really tap into the state of being a teacher, a guru, he has some kind of a gravity that pulls into his life students, or this anchoring of the truth is so big that people immediately feel drawn to certain teachers, which you cannot explain. You cannot understand why gravity works. It's just like it's just a fact. And this person that embodies teaching and really reflect them in a clear way and embody the teaching, people just recognize and feel drawn to it. So this is like truly what a guru is. And the relationship between a teacher and student is one of the most significant, I feel, in his existence, more than a parent and a child, more than two friends. A teacher and a student, it's where the one give himself opportunity to voluntarily learn from someone, because let's face it, when your parents try to teach you something, how to behave as a kid, they try to force teaching. They try to tell you what to do. And sometimes you just do the opposite because you feel like you don't want to do it. when a friend give you an advice, you can take it or you don't take it. Like sometimes you don't listen to your friends. You kind of like have this idea, okay, thank you for your advice, but I will continue to do my own. But when you choose someone and you as a teacher, it's kind of like an obligation to recognize in him a place that I wish to be, that I to see the eyes through his lens as the best as possible. And when you ask for an advice, there is some kind of obligation to follow up with it. And this is, I feel, this dynamic is very, very beautiful, very allow people to surrender because sometimes you don't even know the consequences of it, of the next action that you're going to do. And you have to kind of trust that if you have a good teacher, you're going to reach to peace, to safety, to feel more complete. And I feel this dynamic is so important in tradition. Every tradition just keep advocating for the suggestion of you can figure out by yourself. Many people think they do. It will take you maybe longer, but when you have a person that you look at as a teacher, that you choose to look at as a teacher and to learn from, you can actually find it a lot faster. So that was a beautiful. This is what I recognized took from the text you read.
Yeah, and for the course says a teacher, right? The teacher's job is to just shorten the time, right? To
Yeah,
end the delay to get people from point A to point B, and it's just like, okay, well, if you want to get to point B, and you get a teacher, the teacher just shortens that time frame, right? I mean, the course basically is like we're all getting there. It doesn't even matter what you choose and where you go. We're all getting there. So, what is this? What about like yeah, this idea of like we're getting there. Like we had this conversation
yeah,
last night, but like where are we going? We're getting there. We're getting somewhere. Like we think that there is a place that we need to get to, right? There's this like
yeah.
cause and effect, and if you do something, then this happens. And why have in your opinion we like as a race or as humanity come to this place of there is like heaven, hell, and things like that.
I feel like because we perceive reality in a linear progression, linear movement that suggests that time actually move forward. But actually, it's always now. It's always right now. It was always right now. There is no future, but this is our mind like deal with reality is learning from the past. For example, as a child, you touch something hot, you probably won't do it again, as you have this imprint on your psyche that this is hot. But people can tell you it's hot, don't touch it, it's hot. But yet you kind of like need to test it, you need to check it out. And the fact that you touch it, then now you know it's hot. And this is, I feel, it's the difference between fatalism, that people that just believe that it's hot, and I don't care if it's hot or not. I just believe what priest says. There is heaven, there is hell, there is consequences to my actions, and this kind of stuff. And some of us really needs to understand more, and it really needs to know on our flesh. Is there a why? Why? Like why? How do I know? How do I not just blindly following something that is not? I don't know. Maybe it's not. It's not true. And this idea that there is somewhere to go, it's imprint in our psyche. So it's first of all very hard to break free from it as a beginner on the path. But as you evolve, you start recognizing that the present moment is where the gift is. This is where peace is. And one thing that I recognize in the new age, specifically in the time we live today, that a lot of people, because of social medias and the idea of the perfection idea of how a perfect person should be, what is spirituality means, a lot of people feel, which is not by choice, it's just from as a result from perceiving the world in a certain way. They feel that the way they are right now is not perfect. The way that I am right now, with my patterns, with my behaviors, it's not perfect. And suggesting the idea there is something wrong, and this something should be changed, and if it will be changed, and I will be more peaceful, and I will start doing namaste before I walk, and I talk to people in a certain way, then I will be more associated with awakening. It's kind of like suggesting to the mind that this is how it is. Because when people that reflect this awakening, they are kind people. They are kind. It's something that they learn how to do. So you feel like you need to do it, and this person is more perfect. And I feel that a lot of people in spirituality try to fix themselves, try to fix themselves like there is something wrong. And non-dual traditions suggest that actually it's not about fixing yourself. You can always polishing the character. You can always become better. You can always, again, there is no, show me the person that reached the best, what is kindness, and reach the bottom of that pit. Like it's always we see people that reflect kindness in such ways that it's keep being amazing. So this is endless. It's endless work to keep polishing, fixing, and healing trauma. But the tradition suggests instead of just focusing on that, it's about recognizing the perfection you are in every given moment. And this is actually take you there much faster, and also bring much more ease and fun and enjoyment from the path. Instead of judging yourself when you're not behaving in a certain way, sense of humor is something that I feel like in spirituality, it's very important. Learn how to laugh at yourself, knowing that you try your best. A lot of people think that they could try harder. This actually not true. It's not true because in every given moment, everyone on this planet doing their best, based on based on what they know, based on their past experiences, based on how much energy literally they have in their body to choose love. If you didn't sleep for a few days and you traveled, let's say your flight's delayed for so many times and you're like 40 hours on the road, and then suddenly this nice woman that you just first time met saying the word things to you. I'm sorry, we don't have places on this flight. You have to wait another 3 hours. The fact that you don't have energy to deal with it with love and kindness doesn't mean you can do better. It's at the moment that you get angry and snap at her. This is based on all the circumstances that lead you to this moment. Now, liberation and freedom can just be at the moment when you recognize you're doing your best. You're doing your best. And this is another expression of the one. This is another expression of the one. You can always try to avoid these circumstances in the future. But in this moment, when you're getting angry and you feel like it's wrong, awakening is just a very, very short distance away when you just recognize peace while it's happening, acceptance, radically acceptance where you are. This I feel like the most advanced, one of the most advanced qualities on the spiritual path. Radically accept the way you are right now, every moment you're trying your best. And the fact is, when you do that, it's kind of don't give you any other choice but seeing that everyone else also trying their best. So if someone treats you with unkindness, you suddenly have more compassion, understanding. Maybe he didn't have sleep. Maybe there is something in his life that make them act in a certain way. A good friend talk to you not kindly, and you judge him. You say, why? Why? You're supposed to be my friend. Knowing everyone trying their best, everyone perfect as they are, I feel this is a very beautiful shift in perception that one needs to train himself to see. It's not easy to see because once you're angry, you're kind of blind by your emotions. But when you learn how to see it, you train your mind to see it. Everyone trying their best, it's all perfect. And it's give room for awakening actually to happen in the midst of situations that you don't think are possible. like getting angry, getting depressed, getting heartbreaking, experiencing heartache, like a grief. People think that so many mystics suggest that grief is such a big doorway to awakening. If you can just allow it to be experienced, instead of thinking awakening is always associated with happiness and rainbows and and only love in a certain way, that, let's face it, it's not realistic because we're human. Embodying this humanity of us, this human quality of getting angry. Yeah, sometimes, being angry can help. It's actually, you can be angry out of love. You can be angry out of love. You can you can grieve out of love. You can be disappointed out of love. You can do all of this from a place of centeredness, not need to change it. So yeah, this is
Awesome. Well, one of the things that we were also talking about was this mantra that you taught me was like AM Durkam and
anagatam.
Anakatam.
Ayam dukam anagatam.
Okay, so this is a great one for everybody here. AM Durkam Anakatam, right? It's that suffering should be avoided, right? So all suffering should be avoided. All future suffering should be avoided. And yeah, why don't you kind of share a little bit more about that? Because suffering is really optional, right? And we can avoid suffering. But what is suffering, right? This is a great one to talk about because this is one of the most challenging conversations for everybody on this like spiritual path. It's like, wait, I see suffering out there, and it's like, wait, but what do I need to do about it? Or, is there evil? We talked about this last night too, which was like, is there evil out there? And what is the purpose of evil and all of that? And, the Course says, I need do nothing except not to interfere. But how do I perceive all this? How do I make sense of all this? And, for me, I know that in just my practice with the Course in Miracles is simply for me to shift the perception around it myself. And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to do anything if somebody is about to harm themselves or kill themselves or kill others or hurt a puppy, something like that. So yeah, can you just share from, just kind of pulling in from our conversation last night of what is this
Yeah.
suffering and why suffering should be avoided?
Yes. So the word dukkha, suffering, actually traced back to, I mean, the most important person being that suggests that suffering is fundamental in existence was the Buddha. It wasn't his own idea, it was influenced by other tradition at that time, 2,500 years ago. But this is the first noble truth out of four that Buddhism really hold as valuable, because first, you need to, one, in Buddhism, suffering is kind of like a momentum for spirituality. For a lot of us, what pushes to the spiritual path, to changing our behaviors, is the realization that we suffer. We don't feel content. We don't feel happy. We don't feel like life is fun. And suffering, actually, and now this is a tricky part, because a lot of people saying, "What suffering? Life is fun. Like, you get to learn, you get to grow, you have so much opportunities to love, to experience." People actually feel, everything is they don't see suffering. When a student of mine come with that idea that suffering is, again, it's optional, and there is no such thing as like suffering, is it's a choice. This state of mind came out of a privileged life, that mean that somehow you, not by your choice, got privilege in this life. You have all the means to just remain happy. You have food on your table every time. You have hot waters. You have a comfy bed. You have people around you. You look in a certain way that make you feel that society acknowledge you in a certain way. Life seems to kind of like be for you. It's not by your choice. It's by the circumstances of your environment, of your life, and thus suffering is an optional. When someone said that, that shows privilege that he received. That no, there's nothing wrong with it. But for most of the people, most of the time in history, suffering is a true thing. Suffering is the really like the struggle of feeding, providing for families, abusing. I don't know. Women were suffering for a long time in history, and only recent years we try to change it. But for many years, thousands of years, there was some kind of a suppression that happened that no one even talked about. No one acknowledged at that time. That means suffering wasn't exist. So suffering was always a momentum that push people into spirituality. And this is according to Buddhism. Now, Heyam Dukam Anagatam suggests that where suffering comes from. Suffering comes from avidya, which means ignorance. Now, ignorance doesn't mean stupidity. Ignorance literally means it's come from the word ignoring. And if you remember stuff that I said on the weekend, that the one thing that makes a difference between someone on the path than someone who's not on the path is paying attention. Paying attention is so important because you kind of like try and make an effort to notice how my behavior is being shared with the world. Am I causing harm to others? As my words creating suffering for others? As my actions creating suffering for others? And many traditions suggest that you want to minimize it, to reduce it to such an extent that you are so aware to how you share your being with reality, with the people around you, that suffering is very reduced. It's not impossible because sometimes you can act really lovingly and people can get triggered by it. Now, you don't control on the person suffers. You just try to minimize it because you understand that when you cause suffering, this harmony come in your life, and then suffering that can be avoided should be avoided, as this sutra comes from Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, Heyam Dukkha Managatam, suggests that suffering comes from ignorance. Suffering coming from ignoring certain facts in reality, ignoring how my words affect reality, how my action affects reality. And it's usually tendencies of the mind. It goes on to the tendency of the minds when you are, for example, you take words to be literal, and this can cause suffering. When you take experiences and reality as literal, when you take stuff personally, can cause suffering. When you're fantasizing about the life that you don't have, that can cause suffering. Let's say it like this: when you don't get what you want, you suffer. When you get what you don't want, you suffer. And even when you get what you want, you will end up suffering because it will be taken away from you at some point. You met the love of your life. You met the person that makes you feel happy. And suddenly suffering is no longer on the radio around this person. It could be for 20 years. And then suddenly life takes this person out of you. You didn't do it, but the loss of this person can cause suffering. So even getting what you want can cause suffering. So in many traditions, specifically in the early tradition, suffering is fundamental. Now the tradition that I'm learning is suggesting that suffering is not to be avoided. It's not to be like neglected. It's an important number on this equation of existence. Now, what makes it different, and there is suffering exists, that you start seeing that suffering exists, but there is no longer a sufferer. There is no longer someone suffering. And this is why, for example, let's say it like this. Today, we put ourselves as human in a condition when there is like controlled suffering, and this, we actually acknowledge it to be beneficial for our life. For example, freezing is suffering. Being stuck in a very cold place can cause suffering, but trying to stay 5 minutes in an ice bath, this is now controlled suffering, and it can give you this uh, insight that you're no longer identifying with suffering, meaning there is no longer sufferer. Being hungry is suffering. Not having food for one day, you like actually people that skipped meal, they travel, they don't eat good, they suffer. But fasting consciously actually can monetizing suffering can actually bring a lot of peace. So working with those elements of suffering is actually very important, I feel. It's on the spiritual path. To push yourself to the limit by tapping into states that seemingly it's suffering and not identifying with suffering, and then you kind of like a bit more free. And when the situation comes to you, for example, if you used to fast, I know you like fasting. If you missed a day when it's not your fast, your weekly fast, and you miss a day in the weekend when you don't eat, you travel, you don't eat, I feel that because you practice it, you have a lot more peace when certain situations are imposed on you, life imposing situation on you, and now you have another tool to actually being in peace while suffering is happening. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not about avoiding suffering, it's about recognizing suffering and relax into it, and there is no longer a
It,
sufferer.
okay, so there's this interesting concept of creating this. Is the first time I'm kind of like hearing this too. Is this like controlled suffering, right? Now, can people get addicted to control suffering, or like, what they call like there's always something I need to fix about myself, right? Let me go into like I know people that every time we do some kind of work or plant medicines, they like have to go to this really dark place and pull some kind of they're looking for the demon or something that they gotta face. Like I'm gonna create this control something. There could be like an addiction to it, right? So like this is what the course says, and let me know what you think about this. Is the course says whatever you bring to your mind, the idea. So it's like whatever you feed the idea, it grows, right? So this is like the universal law of expansion is where you put your attention to it. The thing simply grows. Ideas expand and grow as it is shared. Okay. So when I am constantly focused on the shadows and the darkness, all that simply does, the course says, all that does is that it expands this thing. So even in the event of like the way that we have forgiveness, right? We talked about forgiveness earlier. What forgiveness seems like in our world is I forgive you for what you did to me. But see, even I forgive you for what you did to me, I'm putting energy into what you did to me. So that what you did to me is actually expanded and it's more real, right? So it grows this
Suggesting the
thing.
real separation. Suggesting the separation is real.
Yeah. So like we grow this thing. Now can we now this like controlled suffering, right? Like, okay, now we gotta go do this. And it's like, can we become more addicted to it? Right? And just like now all I'm gonna do is keep suffering because I now think suffering is a good thing. And then now you have this AM Dirkam Anagadam, right? Like all suffering should be avoided. So that like how do you bring these two things kind of together in your lineage?
So again, the sense of individuality that's doing something, it seems to be true. It seems there to be like there is a person doing fasting, ice bath, doing spiritual practice. So now this is what the tradition suggests, and I know it's from the course also. There is a sense of ego that is there. Now every tradition recognizes this ego because actually the source of suffering is this identification with this character called me, and stuff happened to me, and I don't want it to happen. I don't want it, hence I'm suffering. So they understood there is like this aspect of ourselves that feel like he's doing and he's getting stuff, like you saying bad words. You hurt an idea, but we see it as a concrete aspect, like there is a me. But what I am is simply an idea. But this is very hard to grasp because the grasping mind is also part of this idea, is also including with it. I mean, the fact that you can understand that you are an idea actually can be also an idea, and this is when people with are not experienced yet on the spiritual path. Now, this is a trap that all of us at some point facing, like at some point on the path, is that you cannot develop this alter ego or the spiritual ego that it's nice to have. You feel like a bit more superior to others. You feel that the fact that you can fast or you are calm, that you talk kind, that you have all this quality that you may be just beginning to cultivate, but now you're identifying with them. And now this can be very addictive. I don't think there is a choice when people doing it. It's more like it's actually there is a two ways direction there, that you trying to work on yourself and people recognize it and they start projecting on you how perfect you are. You're so evolved, you're so kind, teach me, like, and put you in these positions that now you actually make a difference from people's life. And this is where strong people, charismatic people can misinterpret the teaching or the true authenticity of a teaching and start using their own words. This is why I like following tradition, because the tradition, if it's pure tradition, it's being preserved for so many years, like thousands of years. And the people that transmit this tradition from one to another, usually they try to convey the same idea with different words, but they never claim them to be my own words. It's not my words. And I feel this is a different. So people can get addicted to control suffering because it makes their spiritual ego more validated. Maybe this is how I receive love, by people seeing me like this.
Mm-hmm.
And now come and do my course for $4 and learn how to fast, and learn how to do an ice bath. A lot of people also at some point, this is very interesting, that a lot of people that awakening a little bit early in their life instead of as younger, they feel like they didn't had opportunity to live as much because you had to work for 40 years, and now at the age of 60s, what do? Your actions are so radical that you just like buy a dirt bike and start like riding the mountains just for the thrill of you might get hurt. Just the thrill of you might die can cause you to feel so much alive. And you start doing, I don't know, trips to Peru to drink medicine, and like at an elder age, and this actually experiences makes you feel much more alive because you have a lot of time to try to make up to as you begin younger, which again, it's not a choice. It's not a choice that you do when you start younger. Now I can say that even though it seems fun to base jump from a cliff, it seems also ridiculous a little bit, and like kind of like facing death. And no, I kind of okay. I have patience. I don't have to do it. It seems cool, but you don't have to suffer and go to the extreme. But we people really like to push ourselves. We like to push ourselves because it can prove a point. It makes us feel special. It makes us feel superior to others. This is not anyone's fault. Everyone trying their best. It's not like once you know, you cannot not know anymore. So it's like we said yesterday. You as a person that embodied the teaching, just standing there with the light, and have patience. Have patience to finish with their story of being a meditator. of being a yogi. And we talked about it also in the conversation that you use a certain technique, a certain tradition, like as a raft, to cross the ocean, whatever help you. If ice bath and fasting help you, it's great. You use it. You calm your mind. You learn how to recognizing. You're not identifying with your suffering anymore. You're breaking patterns that caused you suffering. But when you reach the other shore, when you reach the moment when you don't longer care if you did an ice bath or not, when you practice or not, you start like practice become your default state, then you don't carry your raft on the shore. You don't carry the tradition with you. You don't carry the prep. You don't think, ah, yeah, I'm the Iceman, for example, and build a whole character and alter ego above it. Now, the fact that the Iceman help a lot of people, that's great, and only he can tell how much of identification there is in his being to do it.
This kind of just brings, and you and I were having this conversation in the beginning too. It's like, well, the course kind of just, a lot of times people say this about the course too. It's like the course seems to just like bypass a lot of the things, right? Seemingly like bypass it, but it's speaking into this truth, which is simply like, are you experiencing peace or are you not? This is not to add more philosophy into this. The course does not want you to add more things to the idea of yourself. The course is presenting things so that you may start to remove the blockages to those things so you can have those moments of experiences. And the idea of you is an idea to be let go of, like the identification of us, right? Because one of the things that I've shared on this call before, and I don't know if everybody here has heard, but I've shared about the when and this is actually, I sat in one of your classes back in the day when I was in Peru. We were learning tantra, and you were talking about like this um, consecration, I think it was, right? So it's like like a kid's about to run off the subway, and then you like, without even thinking, like you stop the kid, and it's like, okay, awesome, like you just did that. And then this identification comes when everyone starts like clapping, right? Like I was like, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, so I'm great. So the ego plays into that part, like grasping onto anything that can create an identity, because this identity somehow separates you from the rest of the out there, right? So the course is like, no, you don't need these things. Every one of these things you attach to creates this identity, which actually makes you feel more separate, and that separateness actually creates the suffering. So suffering is actually optional. And so I like what you were sharing, and I just wanted to let everyone know, like, I've shared that before on this call, maybe probably 2 or 3 times in the past couple years about that example, and that comes from actually David sharing that story with me. That kind of, really helped me grasp this idea of like giving it up to God, right? Giving it over to Spirit. That was kind of it brought A Course in Miracles and what David was sharing into one for me. It's like, here, just give it over to God. It's not yours, right? You didn't do anything, right? You're simply playing out something, and you didn't do anything. So like, even as there's a practice for me of this, is like somebody's like acknowledging, I'm like, awesome, but like giving it over, right? Even the acknowledgments, even the joys, just giving it over to credit Spirit and God for all of this playing out. Because how could I have even set this whole thing up, right? Like all of that. And so, okay, so yeah, I just wanted to share that. And then now let's take some time here to like have everyone chime in, like share, and then, you and I can kind of just bounce back and forth from here. So Fraser's got his hand up. Awesome. I love it. I love that you guys actually put your hand up and want to share. Go ahead, brother.
What's up? How's it going? Just had a quick question on suffering. Now, from what I'm hearing, that's basically a perception of the individual. But here's my question. What about those that we see, like a child that's not able to eat, they're on the street, they've got the big tummy, and you see them like they've been crying or haven't had food for days on end. Like, is that suffering or no? or is that a perception that I have made up in my head?
You want to take it, or I should I take it?
I like this question because this is actually where David and I were going back and forth for a long time yesterday about this, like about the suffering and what's going on in the world. So I'll let you take it first. Go ahead.
This is why I said that suffering for most people, for most of the time in history, is something to be acknowledged. When someone says, again, suffering is an option, this is show privilege. For example, I didn't do anything to be born in my circumstances to this socioeconomic state, to this status in society, to this body, to the family that maybe have more privileges than others, which means there is nothing wrong with it. A lot of tradition says it's wrong. You should give up on it, like renounce and stop it. But just acknowledging it. When we see other people, like a starving kid or people dying in a war, uh, this is another. First of all, 100% it's a perception that I project on reality. 100% because if I see someone suffering, then I suggest that there is someone else, and there is also me, and I don't suffer, and this guy suffer, this kid suffer, this woman suffer. This create duality. Now this is why the teaching is a bit risky because it can suggest kind of like bypassing this idea that you can help someone. Because if there is no one suffering, like suffering is a projection, why to help anyone from the first place? So this is not where we're going. Actually, suffering should be treated with the tools that one can I don't know, if you have the means to help others, this is kind of a thing that like you can do it. You don't have to do it, but the tradition suggests that suffering should be reduced around you if you have the means because it can bring so much peace to you. Now, not get identifying with it, there is you can do something about it or you can't. And a lot of people crying for the whales, and they know you shouldn't kill the whales. And if your mission is to save the whales, this is the same as again. It's something that if you do it without identification with the role, not trying. You actually not thinking you improving reality because reality is perfect, but just executing what the tradition says dharma or your duty in the world, something that is just a call from within to not again to think that you make the world a better place is a risky word because you cannot make it better than already it is, but this is actually how we improve things and makes life a bit more harmonious. Not because we have to, because we want to. Because why not? Why not to act in a way that is beneficial to all beings? This is where Buddhism take this notion of being a bodhisattva, helping to reduce suffering for all living beings. All living beings should be reduced to suffering, and it can come to such an extent that there is tradition. This is real tradition in India, Jainism, when they wear masks constantly. So by accident, they won't inhale a mosquito. There's people in India that crawl on the floor. Every time they walk somewhere, they crawl on the floor and they wipe the grass so they won't step on an ant by accident. And this is when people took non-violence to such an extent that I don't want to step on an ant, so I will crawl on the floor. I will walk with a mask. So just, I won't inhale a fly. Now, this is an extreme part of it. This is tradition suggests, okay, non-violence to the extreme. But when we see a person suffering, a kid suffering, if we're identifying with it, if we recognize it as separation, and if we feel like if I don't do something, something bad will happen, this is the all mind games. You either do something or you don't. You don't identifying with it, and I feel this is the more harmonious way to actually see suffering in others and recognize it.
Yeah, I love that because we are talking about something that now also can have two different perspectives very quickly, right? It's like people attach to it and then all of a sudden they weaponize something. This is that, like, when you identify to that thing, like the suffering is real, now you're going to weaponize it to attack the rest of reality. This is what the ego does to create that. As long as you create the duality and the separation, it's going to be weaponized to attack reality that God created. Which the Course says, by doing that, you're actually waging war against God. You're saying, God, you got it incorrectly. Now I got it, right? Let me show you how to do this, right? This is what the Course calls the authority problem, right? We think we know what's best, but you are doing it not for them. This is that teaching again. You're demonstrating kindness and compassion, not for them, to get something out of it, to better the world or anything, because you have no idea if you're doing that or not. But all you're doing in that moment is you're calming this war and inside yourself, because you're cultivating the frequency of love, right? So if we're cultivating the frequency of love, that means we see someone on the streets that needs help, we go and share compassion, not for them. It's so that we can learn from our own teaching, from our demonstration for ourselves. Then there is no one else to impress. There is no one else. There's no identification with it. When we identify with something, it's because we want to show it. We want to, like, show the separation between myself and the others in that,
And
you know?
you can even see great example when you have like a school that got donated, and the name of the donator is written in such big letters. This is my school. This I donated it. I did this. Now there is nothing wrong with it. But if the person that do this kind of stuff don't, in Judaism, for example, charity is one of the highest act of kindness, that give you credit on the spiritual path that you can do. Now you can do charity with acknowledgement. Yeah, write my name. I want my name on this. But the highest is when you give without anyone knows that you give. This is one of the highest. When you actually help without anyone knows that you help, without posting a story about it, without making a full campaign of showing people how kind you are. Remaining anonymous, because knowing that if you reveal yourself, it will create another justification for the ego to take credit for it, and people will look at you. So donating in the secret.
I want to share something really funny about this. If you ever see GoFundMe pages, right? And this happens for me too. Like, you donate, and it says, do you donate anonymously or do you donate with your name showing what you donate and all that? You know, and like sometimes like the ego goes back and forth. It's like, no, I want it showed that I donated. I want them to know that I donated to them. Want the appreciation and acknowledgement, right? So that's the ego grasping. That's a really interesting thing. So I'm actually, from this share, what I'm taking away is I'm actually going to make that more of a practice of like this anonymous charitable donation. So that's cool. Awesome. I'm glad that we're taking that away.
Again, can bring you to the point of feeling such a good ego.
And again.
So eventually, doing it to such an extent, it doesn't make a difference
Mm-hmm.
unless
you identify to it. Yeah.
You are the only one that can tell.
Yeah.
If someone knows or no, it doesn't even matter. You're the only one knows.
Yeah.
If you put your name, you don't put your name, doesn't matter. The name, again, it's just an idea. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares about it? But again, it's a good practice to begin with until you actually see that it doesn't make a difference. So
There you go. Yeah. So that's the path right here, guys. That's actually what the Course teaches everything. You do it until you realize that doesn't actually matter. And that's the whole thing. It's like, not that it doesn't matter, like we're going to bypass everything. Like, yes, we can understand that there is a basis for all of that. And then there is let me experience it so that I can actually really remember. Like, remember, David actually gave a great example of this remembering a recognition yesterday. It's like you have your best friend that you haven't seen in 10 years and or your mom that you haven't seen in 10 years. But if you put them into a room of 1,000 people, how long is it going to take for you to actually recognize them when you see them, right? It's like an instant, because the recognition is that you've known before, you've been a member before, So we're just returning to that. And hopefully what we're talking about here, and I love mine and David's conversation when we talk too, because there's so much, like, we're dancing around this truth together. You know, there's so much of our teachings that we learn that are so in alignment. And it's like, because I grew up with Eastern philosophy as my teaching too. That's why I feel like I grasped the course really well, and I love when we have this conversation. Now, one of the things that I realized this weekend is I have placed a little bit of judgment in people's addiction to go into the dark, right? It's like this, why are we trying to master the darkness all the time? Like, I'm resisting against it, right? Like, I realized this weekend that I'm like, I have a resistance to it. And all I really have to do is to support it and let it flourish. Let whatever is coming up to grow and extend. And I actually just felt like my capacity grew to be a partner to love, to my wife, that whatever she's going through, whatever she wants, there was no need for me to interfere with it or even try to direct it. You know, like, to simply just like support it, let it bloom, let it grow, and maybe it'll pass, maybe it won't. But to get in the way of it is like, God, I know better, right? I know what to do. And so there's just that part of that humility of letting that go. So, Tasnova, go ahead, and then Michelle will go next. We're going a little bit over, but this is a really great call. So go ahead.
Thank you for this call. Hope you guys are having an amazing time in Vegas. I don't know if I still need to ask this question because you kind of just spoke into it, but my question would have been, just in case there's more. Yeah, just in the topic of suffering, I feel like I'm getting a little bit of a hang on my own, but where I seem to be seeing it's not in harmony, it's when I'm wanting to support in others' suffering. Sometimes it works out and I'm a really great, space holder, and sometimes it doesn't, and I find myself kind of like going into the directing or supporting or whatnot, or knowing and then feeling impatience or whatever. And I was wondering to ask, like, through this conversation of how suffering really is, or coming to that truth of what it is, how can I be of service to others suffering, especially those who are closest to me? Like, when I can see it, I can understand it, I can see what the thing may be that I may or may not know that may be causing it, and it's still happening because of their work of continuing to choose that pattern. Like, how can I be of service to someone else's suffering?
Hey, go ahead.
This is again a great question, because now we can actually tap into what actually we can do. What is our job? And now this is what I have to say. It's completely not politically correct. So there is no. It's not about nice words or like telling you what you need to do, but actually it's a paradox. It's a paradox, and try to sit with it and see that the only thing that you can actually do in order to make the world a better place, and there is no way around it. I looked for a long time and tried to attack this issue with different problems, because I see people trying with so much effort to make the world a better place, and it seems exhausting. The only thing that actually makes a difference, and what I think makes the biggest difference and the most beneficial for everyone around you and all beings, the only thing that you can actually do, the only thing that one can actually do, is to work on himself. This is the biggest gift that you can give humanity. We're always trying to fix the external world, the external reality, and try to end suffering by, again, manipulating reality, which reality is not wrong. There's nothing wrong with reality. But working on myself is actually the only thing I can do, because when I change my perception, when I embody teaching, then actually there is some, like Alex began with it, the call, there is certain frequency that you start carrying with the teaching, that it's just like it's echoing and it's just reflecting to others. And when you start embodying the teachings, people that you cannot end their suffering because you cannot walk someone's path, you cannot make them see what you see. You can just suggest to them as a good friend, but the ending of someone's suffering is completely up to them. And when you embody the teaching of a solid tradition, a solid path, then you start echoing it, and those who are ready, only those who are ready can recognize it. Again, recognize this in you, and start being a student to other people that they acknowledge that they are somehow embodying the teaching. And again, it doesn't mean you shouldn't donate or feed people or help to someone to cross the street or help them to get up when they are falling. But the best thing that you can do while you're doing all of it, it's work on our own mind and reducing our own individual suffering to zero, and that by itself will be an impact on the world. And this is how actually great people actually make the biggest changes, is by reducing their own individual suffering, learning how to shift their perception, not thinking they need to change anything, and just truly embodying teaching. And on top of helping everyone around you the best you can, you also try to echo this teaching that you try to embody. And I feel working on your own mind is the best and most noble thing that one can do.
Yeah, I love that. And like, this is the beginning of chapter 16, actually, is true empathy. You know, true empathy, to empathize does not mean to join in suffering, for that is what you must refuse to understand. So you must refuse the fact that to hold space for somebody is to join in on their suffering. For what you will do is you will make that more real and more true. So rather, what the Course says is like, can you hold the light? This is what David and I were talking about yesterday. It's like, I see that you believe that you are hurting. I see that you believe that you are suffering. And I can empathize with it, and I can have compassion, but I know this is not the truth of you, nor is it the truth of me, or the truth of anybody. So I will hold this vision of light and this wholeness for you until you remember it for yourself. So this holding space. Right, this holding space is, I will hold the remembrance of Christ consciousness in you until you remember it for yourself. So I will not join you in the suffering. I can be love. I can meet you where you are. But to empathize, what most people do is they join in on the suffering. And now they make the suffering more real by, one, like, the joining into it can actually be like, I participate with you in the suffering, or like the denial to tell you to do something else. Let me fix the suffering for you, right? Either way, you're pointing to the fact that the suffering exists, and let me make it more real for you. Whether you're resisting it or you're trying to help it, by trying to do something about it, you are actually making the suffering more real for the both of you. So what the Course actually says, I am not alone, and I would not intrude the past upon my guests. So now you're with this, you're holding space for this person. I will not intrude my past onto the guest. Projection. Here's the projection. I have invited him, and he is here. Let me invite him as God and Spirit. So in this moment, to hold the space is, I am inviting Spirit into this space. I have invited him, and now he is here. I need do nothing except not to interfere. Like, this is the powerful line from the Course. Now, some people get really, really confused about this line. What do you mean I need do nothing? Like, if someone is getting hurt in front of me, I just do nothing? No, it's not that you should do nothing. It's the fact that you need to do something does not exist. because you thinking you can do anything about making the reality better, that's that egoic identification. So it's the need to do something is not there. Now, should you do something? I don't know. That's going to be up to you at the end of the day. But this recognition, this is the most powerful recognition from the Course, is that projection makes perception. We continue to project onto the world to create the reality, to reflect it back to us. We have taken on philosophies and learnings and our experiences, our limited, tiny little experiences of our life. Doesn't matter if you've done plant medicines or anything else for 1,000 years or 1,000 times. It is still limited. It's like a small limitation to the actual reality. So what do you actually know to do in that moment? How do you know what's best? And this is what the Course continues to push into, the relinquishment of judgment. Not that you shouldn't judge, but that you're not capable of judging. And when you finally get to that place, I'm just not capable of judging, you're not giving anything up. You're not sacrificing the idea that you can't make a good judgment. So maybe, I'm not a good enough person if I can't judge well. But the fact you're just giving up the illusion that you even had the ability. So the Course says you're giving up nothing. So you're not sacrificing anything. There's an illusion of sacrifice, but when you're sacrificing nothing, there is nothing being sacrificed, And so it is safe to give up the judgment and the need to even know that I think I can do something to help somebody, right? Like I know the best. I know what's best for them. I know that if this person is suffering on the side of the road, and if I gave them $1 million and gave them the opportunity, that's going to be what's best for them. You can do it for yourself as a practice of kindness and compassion, but to think that you know what's going to serve somebody, that's what the Course says. Now you're beginning to get into this like arrogance place, and the ego is going to feed on that and to weaponize it. So hopefully that supports you. Ask Nova about the space holding, and if I'm around that and how do I deal with that. It's just, I need to do nothing besides invite the Holy Spirit into this space. Here, God, this is happening right now. I'm going to give it up to you for you. And I'm just going to see that the same spirit that I invited in, this person can do it too, right? I'm going to hold this light for you. All right. You go and just keep vomiting into the bucket and suffering. I'm not going to go and stop you, right? Our tendency of the ego is like, oh my God, they're vomiting, they're purging. Let me help you. Let me stop you. But in, plant medicine practice, when it's like, oh, wow, beautiful. You're doing your thing, right? Like, oh yeah. Like, good job. I'm holding this space. I'll hold the light for you. I'll hold your hair while you're throwing up in there, right? Like, the best that we can do is to support you in doing it without having to, try to stop it. Like, it's something bad. Like, oh my God. So, I don't know. That's just my thoughts on that. So, hopefully that's supported. All right. Last question, Michelle. And, David and I have been talking about actually creating a podcast or something to keep this going, because this is actually a really great conversation that I love. Go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, thank you for this call. Incredible call. I feel really seen and received in this call. I wanted to chime in on two things that I feel called to touch on is the understanding that today in Judaism, I understand is Yom Kippur, today and tomorrow, the Day of Atonement. So it's the Day of Atonement where you go and you ask forgiveness to those you feel you may have wronged. But for me, this is the moment of being self-aware. And I feel that today is a great day to just bring that consciousness. And this call is perfect timing. So thank you for that. And then the second thing I wanted to touch on is this reminds me that today's call reminded me of a quote my mother left me before she passed on a rock. And it says, lighthouses don't go out searching the ocean for ships to save. It just stands there shining and the ships come to the shore. So I think our purpose is to stand shining bright and knowing that the right ships will come to the shore, and you are naturally helping the world by doing that work. So thank you for shining your light today, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys. And Shongdi, brother, thank you for being here on this call. Shongdi, yeah, to do this, and this is that remembering part, right? So the remembering is, wait, I didn't come on this call so I can figure out what more things to do. The remembering on these calls is, oh, wait, I just get to be a light. I don't need to identify with all these other things out there like I need to do something. And so David and I will continue this conversation. And we have our work, and we just, we are devoted to our own practices, which is like we're really just on the same path, And so I love it. And being able to bring the East and the West together, I think this is something that is being called to in this modern spirituality of where we are today, is the East and the West are coming together. There's so much information being shared quickly that people are in this space of confusion. But the confusion and suffering is the beautiful part of the reorganizing of what is newly wanting to birth through. So I think all of us continuing to have this conversation and meet it with curiosity rather than judgment of, wait, it doesn't fit my lens, or it doesn't fit this, it doesn't fit that. There is none of that, right? Everything is, how can it be all encompassing so that our minds can return back to non-dual? Okay. Any last closing words, brother?
Thank you for opening it, suggesting it, offering me to join last night. Yeah, I feel like it will be lovely to continue to discuss and choosing actually topics to keep unfolding from non-dual view. It's something that I really like to do, because this is actually how you train your mind. Also for us, talking about it, to actually make this very abstract idea of non-duality into clear words, concept, makes us think, challenging us, and also can benefit everyone that can listen to it. Maybe, hopefully, that if we attack certain issues, that especially spirituality, from the non-dual angle, how can we actually bring more unity into these experiences of spirituality, spiritual path, our daily life, practice? What does that mean? Self-judgment, all of these topics, I feel like it could be nice. So yeah, thank you. It was truly fun.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for being here. And let's see, what was that? What was last night? Last night was just a conversation that David and I just had after we went and watched this long Leonardo DiCaprio video movie that I fell asleep at. Man, Leonardo DiCaprio and his freaking 3-hour long movies. But we sat afterwards and just kind of had a really great conversation until like 1:30 in the morning. So really cool. So that's it for now. We will see what will want to be manifested and created out of this. And also, this is an invitation for everyone here too, right? If there's a calling to want to collaborate, if there's a calling to like, how do we spread this? How do we do this, more of this work together? I'm always about collaborations, and A Course in Miracles is probably, for me, it's the most devoted thing that I have to for myself as a practice, to work on myself. All right. So yeah, we welcome anybody that has podcast experiences and that can make this a reality. I'm somebody that really just, I don't want to get behind the scenes of doing all this stuff. And if we want to see more of this, let's collaboratively make more of this happen. So that's it. That's all, folks. Much love for you guys. Happy Wednesday. And I'll see you guys perhaps on Sunday. Maybe, maybe not. Much love. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.